I want to go, Alex, if I can. Your colleague, National Party MP Matt Canavan, asked a pertinent question on Twitter last night about how much wealthy investors might expect to make from net zero emissions agenda. Will you stand, he says, against a net zero target 2050? Interestingly enough, there is a lot of people that are banking on this target, quite literally banking on this target. That's also what's not often talked about enough, in my view. People in the media in particular, people in politics with a vested interest in net zero 2050.
Look, no, I think in many respects he's absolutely right. I mean, there's a lot of money to be made in renewables at the moment, a lot of money, and those wind farms and solar farms, they do not build themselves, and they do not build themselves without subsidy, sadly, as well. So, look, I take his point. I tend to agree with him on that. And look, I think if we were to be marching down this road, looking at a nuclear option, so to speak, for want of a better way of putting it, we would be talking about a very different language, but that might upset the business model.
Well, we've lost the ability to disagree with civility. We've lost the ability, I think, around the country to have fair and reasonable debate, to talk. I mean, let's use nuclear as a good example, Alex Antic, to have a debate, a grown-up adult debate about where we go in terms of energy. If we're going to take fossil fuels out of our economy to reduce emissions, if we think that's what we should do, then why on earth aren't we having a grown-up conversation about nuclear power? I know it was started at some time ago in South Australia, but cancelling people is not the answer.
No, it's sure not, Peter, and you're quite right. I mean, I think one of the reasons we're not is simply because, there isn't the bipartisan support. No criticism of Joel, but if Labor and the Greens were happy to take this for what it is, and that is low emission, safe, cheap, reliable power, we would have a discussion about it, and we could have a discussion about it in a frank manner, and we could decide whether or not this was something that really had a future. And of course that hinges on cost base, it hinges on a whole other range of things. But I mean, ultimately what we see here is, the Green left, I think, trying to have their ideological cake and eat it too. They want low emissions, they want net zero by 2050, but they're not prepared to try this option, which actually does work and does provide cheap baseload power. We should be talking about it. We should be talking about it more. It's a shame we're not.